Why anxiety is not about the future. Buddhist wisdom on overthinking. What if everything you've ever done to escape anxiety has been the very thing keeping it alive? You'd expect anxiety to show up when the future is actually on the table, in the decision, the diagnosis, the difficult conversation. But notice when it usually finds you. Not there. It arrives later. When the dishes are done. When the lights are off. When the room finally goes quiet. That's when the mind begins rehearsing a tomorrow that doesn't exist. Buddhist psychology points somewhere unexpected. It suggests the future was never actually the problem. The real suffering begins much earlier, the moment the mind quietly steps into a tomorrow that hasn't arrived. And once you truly see that, anxiety doesn't disappear. It just becomes much harder to believe. It's 2 a.m. The room is silent. Yet someone is still doing the same math they've already done 3 times this week. There is a particular hour when it becomes impossible to ignore. Not during the rush of the day, but after everything finally goes quiet. The ceiling hasn't changed. The numbers haven't changed. Even the clock keeps its same, indifferent rhythm. Only one thing keeps changing, the next version of tomorrow. The mind keeps rewriting it, hoping one more rehearsal will finally make it feel safe enough to put down. It never gets put down. Morning comes. The exhaustion comes with it. And the future that stole the night never arrives the way the mind imagined it. Maybe you've lived through a night like this. Or maybe you're living it right now. If so, what comes next may explain far more than you expect. There is a tiny moment just before anxiety takes hold. It passes so quickly that most people never notice it. But once you do, you start seeing it everywhere. Give the mind a single unanswered question, and it doesn't stop there. Within seconds, it writes the entire movie, the worst outcome, what you'll say, how people will react, how you'll try to recover. Then something strange happens. Your body responds as if the movie were already real. That isn't planning. It's rehearsing a future your mind quietly mistakes for reality. It's like opening an umbrella because tomorrow's forecast says it might rain. The rain hasn't come, but your body is already acting as if it has. Then the body joins the story. Your heart races for a day that doesn't exist. Your shoulders tense over a conversation that hasn't happened. You check the same bank balance again. Nothing on it has changed, except the fear wrapped around it. The screen hasn't changed, only the story behind it. A bill becomes a catastrophe. A symptom becomes a diagnosis. A phone call is answered long before it ever rings. There's a common response to this. Research more. Prepare more. Control more, hoping enough certainty will finally silence the uncertainty. It never does. Planning isn't the problem. Wanting absolute safety is. Lock the door. Save your money. See the doctor. Do what needs to be done. But notice this. The part of the mind asking to be safe forever is never satisfied. It always finds one more possibility. One more what if. Others choose the opposite. They stop planning altogether. They call it surrender. But avoiding reality is still being controlled by it. Real peace lives somewhere neither strategy can reach. And that is exactly where the Buddha begins. More than 2,000 years ago, The Buddha described this pattern with surprising precision in the Salatha Sutta, the teaching of the two arrows. The first arrow is life itself, illness, debt, loss, uncertainty. No one escapes that arrow, however carefully they plan. The second arrow never comes from life. It comes from the story the mind tells about life, the future it invents, the disasters it rehearses, the conversations it finishes before they even begin. And here's the remarkable part. The Buddha said the second arrow is optional. This doesn't mean ignoring real life. Pay the bill, see the doctor, lock the door, take care of what can be taken care of. Buddhism never asks you to abandon wisdom. Make the call, make the plan, keep the appointment, then let the action end where it ends. Don't force it to carry tomorrow with it. That extra weight is the second arrow. Right now, ask yourself one question. Which arrow are you actually carrying? The one life gave you, or the one your mind keeps creating? A Vietnamese Zen master, Venerable Vierne Minh, described this simply. Return phenomena to phenomena, not adding a story to what is happening. Let the bill be a bill. Let the ache be an ache. Let the unanswered message remain unanswered, without asking any of them to predict your future. Rain never wonders where it will land. It falls. It nourishes, it ends. Only the human mind insists on living the same storm twice. It's 2 in the morning again. The numbers haven't changed. Neither has the ceiling. But something else has. This time, the story is noticed before it's believed. And that changes everything. Nothing has to be forced. Nothing has to be silenced. Only noticed. Because the moment a story is seen as a story, it loses the power of a fact. The next time your mind races into tomorrow, don't chase it. Don't fight it. Simply notice. A story is being written. Not a fact. Just a story. Once it's seen clearly, the fear begins to shrink. Not because the future changed, but because the story was never reality. This isn't about feeling better overnight. It's about discovering something that was already there, a quiet that doesn't depend on certainty, a peace that was never waiting for the future to behave. It was simply hidden beneath the second arrow. The bill is still there. The ache is still there. Tomorrow is still uncertain. But today no longer has to carry tomorrow's weight. Tonight somewhere, a mind will begin riding tomorrow again. It doesn't have to stop. It only has to be seen. Just once. Exactly as it is. If this changed the way you see anxiety, then you've only seen the first layer. Some of the deepest Buddhist insights begin exactly where this conversation ends.